Have you been feeling a little more emotional than usual lately? Maybe certain memories have surfaced from the depths of your heart. Scenes from your past that seemed long gone, suddenly replaying themselves in your mind like an old film reel. You might have caught yourself feeling waves of emotion that don't entirely make sense or crying over something small that felt strangely significant. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone, and you're definitely not imagining it. What you're experiencing is more than just a passing mood. It's an energetic shift triggered by the moon's movement through the deeply intuitive and emotionally charged sign of Cancer. This is a time when emotions aren't just fleeting sensations, they are messengers. When the moon moves through Cancer, the sign it naturally rules, its influence becomes more pronounced. It begins to stir up the emotional waters within us. Gently at first, but with a power that grows deeper the more we try to ignore it. What you're feeling is real, it's valid, and more than that, it's meaningful. The moon in Cancer acts as a spotlight on your inner world. It wants you to look, to reflect, to feel, and ultimately, to heal. You see, Cancer is the sign of the nurturer, the guardian of memory, and the protector of the emotional body. It connects us to home, not just the physical space, but the inner sanctuary where we retreat to find peace. When lunar energy floods this space, it's not unusual to feel like you're being called home, back to yourself, back to something you may have forgotten or tucked away long ago. Old wounds might resurface, not to wound you again, but to finally offer you the gift of healing. This isn't just a time to process what was. It's a sacred invitation to transform the way you carry your past forward. If you've been sensing subtle or not so subtle shifts in your relationships, whether it's a growing closeness with someone or a sudden distance you can't explain, this moon phase is likely amplifying those emotional dynamics. The Cancer moon doesn't just ask how you feel, it asks how deeply you feel and whether your emotional needs are truly being met. It asks whether the bonds you're investing in are feeding your soul or draining your spirit. And in this gentle yet powerful asking, it invites you to choose alignment over attachment, truth over comfort, and inner peace over external approval. It's also very likely that you're feeling more sensitive to energy, both your own and that of others. You might find that you're absorbing the moods of people around you, feeling unusually affected by music, movies, or even the energy in certain spaces. This sensitivity isn't a weakness. In fact, it's a sign that your intuitive channels are opening up. You're becoming more tuned to what's real beneath the surface, what's unsaid, what's felt, what's spiritually significant. And yes, this can feel overwhelming at times, but it's also a beautiful affirmation that your inner guidance system is awakening in a new way. This period of emotional depth isn't just about feeling, it's also about realigning. You may find yourself questioning things you used to be certain of. You may feel like life is quietly nudging you into unknown territory. There may be a sense that something is ending or shifting or just no longer resonating. This isn't chaos. This is clarity in disguise. It's the universe clearing space for what's more aligned with who you are becoming. And in the middle of this emotional whirlwind, you're being asked to trust, not necessarily the outer circumstances, but the inner knowing that's beginning to stir. Before we go further, take a deep breath. Inhale slowly. Hold it for a few seconds, and then exhale completely. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw soften. Let yourself be here in this moment without needing to fix or figure anything out. Now, gently affirm to yourself, I am aligned with my highest truth. Let those words echo in your heart, not just as a thought, but as an energetic vibration. You don't have to understand everything all at once. You just have to be willing to stay open to the truth that's trying to find you. This affirmation isn't just a feel-good mantra, It's an anchor. During this moon phase, when emotions can feel like waves rising and falling unpredictably, you need something steady to return to. Your highest truth isn't something you chase, it's something you uncover, layer by layer, through stillness, self-compassion, and courage. And in moments of confusion or discomfort, repeating this affirmation can bring you back to your center, reminding you that you are held, guided, and never alone. If your spirit feels drawn to these words, if your heart whispers yes as you read them, then consider this a gentle sign to stay connected to these energetic rhythms. The more you understand them, the more you begin to understand yourself. Not just who you've been, but who you're becoming. And in that understanding, something shifts. Life starts to feel less like a random series of events and more like a beautifully unfolding path that is constantly aligning with your soul's highest evolution. Now let's talk a bit more about what this particular phase of the moon, its first quarter in Cancer, truly symbolizes. The first quarter moon is a time of tension, but also of momentum. It sits between the new moon, a time of planting intentions, and the full moon, a time of manifestation and illumination. This is the moment when energy builds, when actions begin to take root, and when resistance often surfaces. Think of it like a spiritual growing pain. It's not always comfortable, but it's a necessary part of growth. So when this energetic pressure meets the emotional depth of Cancer, it creates a unique blend of sensitivity and forward motion. You may feel like you're being pulled in two directions. Part of you wants to hide and protect your heart, while another part of you knows it's time to move forward. This inner push-pull is not a problem to fix. It's a sacred tension that reveals where you need to release fear and step into greater emotional authenticity. Your intuition is likely to be extra loud right now. You may be getting dreams that feel like messages, gut feelings that seem to defy logic, or even spontaneous memories that hold symbolic meaning. Don't ignore these signs. Journal them. Reflect on them. Even if they don't make complete sense yet, they are part of the conversation your soul is having with the universe. Cancer energy teaches us that the heart holds wisdom. The mind can't always grasp, and that's okay. Trusting that inner guidance, even when it's subtle, is part of learning to live in alignment with your spiritual truth. You might also notice that your inner world feels more fragile than usual. You may cry easily, feel overwhelmed by compassion, or need more rest and solitude. Honor that. Your emotional body is processing more than it usually does, and it needs extra tenderness. If you feel drawn to certain people, let yourself lean in. If you feel a strong urge to pull away, give yourself permission to honor that boundary. There doesn't always have to be a reason. Sometimes your energy simply knows what your mind hasn't caught up with yet. This moon is also asking you to look at the foundation of your emotional life. What do you truly need to feel safe, supported, and seen? Where in your life have you been pretending to be okay just to keep the peace? Where have you been abandoning your own needs in order to meet someone else's expectations? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary. Cancer energy doesn't just want you to feel, it wants you to feel deeply enough to change. This is a beautiful time to slow down, to breathe deeply, and to reconnect with your inner self. Spend time near water if you can, whether it's a bath, a river, or even just listening to the sound of waves. Water carries memory, emotion, and healing. And right now, it can act as a soothing balm for your spirit. Let it help you wash away the residue of old emotional patterns that no longer serve you. You might be surprised by how much clarity can come through quiet reflection. Give yourself permission to journal your thoughts, to cry without needing a reason, to sit in silence and listen to your soul's gentle whispers. This isn't about fixing yourself. It's about loving yourself enough to hear what your heart has been trying to say. If you like our content and it is proving to be beneficial for your life, then a super thanks is in order for us. So if you've been feeling uncertain, emotional, or even lost in the past few days, know this. It's not a detour. It's a sacred part of your path. The moon is guiding you inward so you can reconnect with what's real. Trust the process. Trust yourself. And remember, every emotional wave you ride is bringing you closer to your own inner shoreline. You are healing. You are realigning. And you are not alone in this journey. Stay connected to your truth and let this moonlight be your guide. Whether you're receiving subtle whispers from within about your relationships, feeling a nudge to explore a new direction in your career, or sensing that a long-buried part of you is finally ready to be seen, honored, and healed, don't brush it aside. These feelings, even the quietest ones, are not random. They aren't distractions. They are deeply intelligent, sacred messages from your inner world trying to get your attention. When emotions rise, no matter how small, confusing, or overwhelming they may seem, try not to resist them. Let them come. Let them move through you like waves. Your only job is to stay present and curious. Instead of judging or shutting down what you feel, gently ask yourself, what is this emotion trying to tell me? What part of me is asking for my attention right now? You might be surprised by the depth of wisdom you already carry within you. Wisdom that isn't learned from books or gurus, but born from your lived experience, your soul's journey, your own inner knowing. The moon isn't here to bring you something brand new out of nowhere. What it does do is help you remember. It illuminates what's already inside of you, what may have been hidden, silenced, or forgotten beneath the noise of everyday life. This particular moon phase, the first quarter moon, is a potent moment of momentum and movement. Traditionally, it's a time when the seeds you planted during the new moon begin to push through the soil and reach toward the light. But because this lunar energy is moving through the sensitive, intuitive sign of Cancer, the growth we're being called into isn't external. It's not necessarily about taking big action in the outer world. Instead, this phase invites us into a quieter, more internal kind of expansion. It's about emotional growth, soul-level healing, and finally facing the things we've been quietly carrying for far too long. Cancer, ruled by the moon itself, is a deeply emotional and nurturing energy. It invites us to soften, to feel, to return to the parts of ourselves we may have abandoned. So while this moon phase often brings an energetic push forward, Cancer asks us to direct that momentum inward, not to force change or chase outcomes, but to courageously meet our inner landscape with love and honesty. Right now, you are being offered a sacred invitation to take a closer look at what you've been avoiding, not so you can criticize yourself, not so you can fix it overnight, but so you can finally witness it, so you can meet your pain with compassion, so you can hold space for the parts of you that still feel unworthy, broken, or stuck. Think of it like standing at a crossroads. One path is the familiar one, continuing to carry the emotional burdens that have weighed you down. The other path is less certain, but it leads toward freedom, toward healing. It begins with one small, brave step, facing yourself with truth and tenderness. And remember, inner healing rarely looks like some dramatic overnight transformation. More often, it starts with tiny, almost imperceptible shifts. It might be a quiet moment where you finally allow yourself to say, "That really hurt me." Or a realization that a piece of your heart is still holding on to a past experience, even though you thought you'd moved on. These realizations matter. They're not signs of weakness. They're the beginning of deep transformation. Healing is not linear. It doesn't follow a perfect timeline. It's not about checking things off a list or achieving some ideal state of being. Healing is messy. It's layered. It unfolds in waves. And sometimes the most important progress happens in the smallest, most tender moments. Maybe it's forgiving someone who never gave you the closure you deserved. Maybe it's recognizing that a part of you still needs nurturing and reassurance. Maybe it's deciding to no longer overextend yourself just to feel loved or accepted. These seemingly tiny acts of emotional courage send ripples through your entire life. They open doors you didn't even know were closed. This Cancer moon wants you to slow down enough to feel what's real, to come back to yourself in a way that feels safe, loving, and honest. It's asking you to create space for your emotions, not just when it's convenient, but as a regular act of self-respect. Your feelings are not too much. They are not wrong. They are not something to be fixed or silenced. They are messengers, guides, pointing you toward the parts of your life, your past, or your psyche that are ready to be seen, healed, and reclaimed. And this kind of emotional honesty isn't just for your own well-being. It ripples outward. When you show up for yourself with authenticity, when you allow yourself to be vulnerable and real, you invite others to do the same. You create safer spaces in your relationships. You become a lighthouse for those who are still lost in their own emotional storms. Your healing becomes a quiet, steady light in the world. So ask yourself, what am I ready to feel, even if it scares me? What am I tired of carrying? What truth have I been pushing down because it felt too painful or inconvenient? What might happen if I stopped running from my own heart? This moon phase, though gentle in its nature, holds the power to shift everything. But only if you allow yourself to be still enough to hear its message. There's nothing you need to do right now, other than to meet yourself exactly where you are. Maybe that looks like journaling your feelings without censorship. Maybe it's sitting in silence and placing your hand on your heart. Maybe it's crying without apology, or finally telling someone the truth you've been holding in for too long. Maybe it's simply resting, knowing that rest itself is a form of healing. No matter how you choose to honor this energy, do it with compassion. Be gentle. This isn't about getting it all right or making huge life decisions. It's about reconnecting with yourself in the most honest way possible. The more you allow yourself to feel, the more you'll begin to understand. And the more you understand, the more empowered you'll feel to make choices that actually align with your deepest truth. The Cancer moon reminds you that coming home to yourself is not a destination, it's a practice, a sacred one. It asks you to treat your inner world as a temple, to speak to yourself with kindness, to validate your emotions without needing to justify them, to honor the parts of you that are still healing, even if that healing is slow and non-linear. This is a beautiful time to redefine what safety means to you, not just physically, but emotionally. What makes you feel held, seen, supported? Where in your life are you craving more softness, more nurturing, more authenticity? What would it look like to start creating that, even in the smallest of ways? Maybe it's lighting a candle and creating a space in your home that feels like a sanctuary. Maybe it's setting a boundary that protects your peace. Maybe it's reaching out to someone who makes you feel grounded and loved. Maybe it's choosing to walk away from something or someone that no longer honors your growth. Whatever it is for you, let this moon phase be a reminder that your emotional landscape is sacred, that your healing doesn't have to look like anyone else's, that you're allowed to feel deeply and move slowly. That real transformation often begins not with a bang, but with a whisper, a soft inner voice that says, "You're allowed to come home now." So take a deep breath. Let yourself feel. Let yourself remember. Let yourself be exactly as you are, without shame or self-judgment. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are in process. You are healing. And that is more than enough. This moon isn't here to rush you. It's not asking you to change everything overnight. It's simply asking you to pause, to listen, to lean in. Because within you, there is already a well of truth, a deep inner clarity, just waiting for space to rise to the surface. The answers you seek? They aren't somewhere far away. They're not hidden in the stars or buried in someone else's opinion. They are within you, waiting for a moment of stillness, a breath of courage, and a touch of grace to come alive. Let this be that moment. Let this moon be your mirror. Let it guide you inward. Not to fix yourself, but to finally see yourself. To remember who you are beneath the noise, beneath the pain, beneath the doubt. You are already whole. You are already worthy. You are already enough. And now, you are being called to believe it. Not just with your mind, but with your heart. Let the moonlight guide you home. There are some incredibly profound energetic shifts moving through the collective right now, like invisible waves stirring something deep within our hearts and souls. You may not be able to fully explain it, but you can feel it. It might show up as a soft restlessness or a subtle but growing pull to look at your life more honestly. And while these shifts might stir up emotions or uncertainties, it's important to understand something essential. Something so easy to forget in a world that often makes us feel like we're constantly trying to catch up or fix ourselves. Healing is not about fixing something broken, because you were never broken to begin with. You've never been too much or not enough. You haven't failed just because you've struggled. Life can bruise us, yes, and sometimes we carry wounds that feel heavy and complicated. But these wounds don't mean we're flawed or damaged. They are simply invitations to tend to ourselves more lovingly, more honestly. True healing is about returning to our center. It's a process of remembrance, not repair. It's about coming home to the truth of who you are, beneath all the noise, beneath all the old narratives and conditioned beliefs. You've always been whole, even in your messiest moments, even when you've doubted yourself, even when you've been hurting or confused, you were still whole. Healing is about peeling back the layers of conditioning and pain so you can reconnect with that wholeness. And right now, the universe, the moon, and your own inner guidance are all gently encouraging you to take a step forward on that path. It doesn't have to be a massive leap. It doesn't have to be flashy or dramatic. Even a small, quiet step counts. What matters is your intention, your willingness to say, I'm ready to begin, even if you don't know exactly where the path will lead. This current lunar phase, especially with the first quarter moon rising in Cancer, carries a potent emotional current. It's not the kind of energy that necessarily demands big outward action, but rather a subtle internal shift, a reorientation toward truth and tenderness. And so, if you're feeling a bit more sensitive or introspective right now, that's not a coincidence. It's part of the cosmic invitation. You're being asked to tune in to what really matters to you, emotionally, spiritually, even physically. This moon wants to know, where do you feel most safe to be your truest self? Where do you feel seen, held, understood? And if you're not sure how to answer that, or if those questions stir up discomfort or grief, that's okay. Sometimes healing begins with admitting that we haven't felt safe or supported and allowing ourselves to want more. Not from a place of entitlement, but from a deep inner knowing that we deserve to feel nourished and grounded in our own lives. Cancer is the nurturer of the zodiac, the cosmic mother, the emotional caretaker. It teaches us that strength doesn't always look like pushing forward or soldiering on. Sometimes real strength is in the softness, in the vulnerability of saying, I need rest. I need warmth. I need to feel like I belong. This moon asks us to be honest about where we haven't been nurturing ourselves, where we've been ignoring our emotional needs, or where we've been staying quiet, to keep the peace in relationships that don't truly honor our full humanity. You might find yourself revisiting memories from your childhood, whether through dreams, sudden recollections, or just a quiet pull toward the past. These memories are rising not to trap you in nostalgia or pain, but to offer a chance for deeper understanding. You may become aware of patterns in your family that have shaped how you relate to yourself and others. And with this awareness comes the sacred opportunity to shift those patterns, to choose differently. Maybe there's an old belief about love or worthiness that you picked up from your early environment, and it's time to let it go. Maybe there's an unspoken tension with a parent, sibling, or someone close to you that's asking to be acknowledged. Maybe you've been defining family in a way that no longer resonates with who you are now. The energy of this moon is urging you to trust your feelings, to not dismiss the subtle nudges and emotional cues. They are guiding you towards something more authentic. Sometimes, healing means having a hard conversation you've been avoiding, not with the intention to blame, but to speak your truth and clear space for something more honest to emerge. Sometimes healing means choosing distance from people who consistently deplete your energy, even if they're family, by blood. Sometimes healing means letting yourself grieve the version of home you never had, so you can begin to build the one you've always needed. And here's the beautiful part. You are allowed to redefine what home means to you. You are allowed to build a life that feels like sanctuary. Home isn't just a physical place. It's an energy, a feeling, a relationship with yourself and the world around you. It's the way you speak to yourself when no one else is listening. It's the people you allow into your sacred spaces. It's the energy you cultivate in your surroundings. Under this moon, you're being asked to consider not just where you live, but how you live. How do you hold yourself through life's ups and downs? How do you tend to your own needs when things get hard? Your physical environment is a mirror of your inner world. If things feel cluttered, chaotic, or heavy around you, that's not a failure. It's simply information. It's a sign that something within you might be asking for more clarity, more gentleness, more intention. This is a beautiful time to care for your space in ways that reflect the healing you're stepping into. Not out of pressure to be perfect, but as an act of devotion to yourself. Maybe that means clearing out old belongings that carry heavy memories. Maybe it means rearranging your furniture so your home feels more open, more welcoming. Maybe it's lighting a candle with a specific intention, preparing a meal with love and presence, or creating a small altar with objects that remind you of your strength. These small rituals matter. They send a message to your nervous system, to your heart, and to the universe that says, I am creating safety for myself. I am choosing peace. I am worthy of living in a space that reflects my inner light. This moon is gently whispering to you, come home. Come home to your body. Come home to your truth. Come home to the parts of you that you've hidden or neglected. Come home to the version of yourself that is soft and strong, sensitive and wise. You don't have to wait for everything to be perfect. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to take one small, intentional step toward the life that feels aligned with who you really are. This moment is ripe with potential. It's not asking for perfection, only presence. It's not demanding that you be fearless, only that you be honest. If there's something you've been putting off, whether it's a dream, a boundary, a truth you've been afraid to speak, this is your sign to begin. The moon is on your side. The energy is aligned. You are supported in more ways than you know. And if you feel tired, unsure, or even afraid, That's okay too. That doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. It means you're doing the real, often uncomfortable work of transformation. Let yourself be exactly where you are and trust that healing is happening, even in the quiet moments, even in the stillness, especially in the stillness. So breathe. Take a moment to check in with your heart. Ask yourself, what does home feel like for me now? What kind of space, internally and externally, do I want to create? What part of me is asking to be nurtured, to be heard, to be loved? Whatever the answers are, hold them gently. Let this moon guide you, not just with its light, but with its wisdom. Let it remind you that you are not alone, that you are held by forces both seen and unseen, and that every step you take toward your healing, no matter how small, is a step toward wholeness, toward peace, toward freedom. You are already on the path. Keep going. The moon is with you. Your heart is wise, and you are so ready. This moment we find ourselves in, it's not just about cleaning out the physical clutter around you, rearranging the furniture, or organizing your drawers. Sure, those things matter. Our outer environment is a mirror of our inner world, and there's real magic in creating a space that feels nurturing and supportive. But this particular lunar moment, especially under the soft, watery embrace of the Cancer moon, goes deeper. It's calling for a different kind of housekeeping, one that happens quietly, inwardly, one that doesn't involve brooms or checklists, but instead asks you to sit with your heart and tend to the things you've been carrying there. There's something gentle but profoundly powerful about a Cancer moon. Cancer energy, ruled by the moon itself, is inherently connected to the emotional body, the inner child, and the sacred concept of home. Not just the physical place, but the energetic and emotional sense of safety, comfort, and belonging. It's the warm corner of the soul that longs to feel held, understood, and unconditionally loved. And under this lunar influence, old emotions rise not to haunt us, but to be healed. You might find yourself feeling more sensitive than usual right now, more attuned to the undercurrents of your emotional landscape. You may suddenly recall memories you haven't thought of in years, or notice waves of emotions surfacing seemingly out of nowhere. Grief, sorrow, disappointment, guilt, or even shame. Often these aren't new wounds. They're remnants, residues, echoes of emotional experiences we never had the space, time, or safety to fully process. And because we never processed them, they didn't disappear. They just found a quiet corner within us to hide in, shaping our behaviors, reactions, and beliefs in ways we often don't even recognize. That's the thing about unprocessed emotion. It doesn't just vanish with time. It embeds itself in our energy, our cells, our stories. It can live in the tension we carry in our shoulders, the way we flinch when someone raises their voice, or the way we self-sabotage opportunities without fully understanding why. Sometimes the emotional burdens we carry aren't even ours. They may have been passed down to us, subtly, silently, through generations. The fear of not being enough, the belief that love must be earned through suffering, the guilt that was never ours to begin with. These emotional inheritances are often invisible, but they weigh just as much. This is why this Cancer moon is so sacred. It holds a gentle maternal energy that doesn't demand transformation through force or struggle. Instead, it whispers to us softly, "Let's look at what you've been holding. Let's see what still hurts. Let's finally give it the space to breathe." You don't have to relive your past to release it. You don't have to break down completely or revisit every painful moment. Healing isn't always loud or dramatic. Often it's quiet, gentle. It begins with a simple act of awareness, the willingness to feel what's there without judgment, to acknowledge an emotion that is long gone ignored, to sit with it even for a moment and say, I see you. I understand why you came, but I don't need to carry you anymore. There's a sacred power in that, a shift that happens when you stop resisting what you feel and start listening instead. Sometimes that shift is all it takes to start releasing the emotional grip that old stories have on your current reality. And it's not about pretending something didn't happen or bypassing the pain. It's about reclaiming your power from it. It's about saying, this experience shaped me, but it doesn't get to define me anymore. One powerful ritual during this time, especially with the moon's intuitive and emotional light guiding the way, is to write a release letter. Find a quiet space where you won't be interrupted. Let the atmosphere be soft. Maybe light a candle, play some gentle music, or sit by a window with the moonlight touching your skin. And then write. Don't worry about grammar or structure or whether it makes sense. Let your soul speak. Let the words flow out even if they come out messy or angry or heartbroken. This letter is for your healing, not for anyone else to read. Write everything you've been holding in, what you wish you'd said, what still aches, what you're ready to let go of. And when you're done, you can tear it up. You can burn it safely, of course, or bury it in the earth. You can whisper a prayer as you do so. Something simple like, I release this with love. I make space for peace. It doesn't have to be poetic. What matters is the intention behind it. The conscious decision to loosen the hold these emotions have had over you. That symbolic act becomes a kind of alchemy. You're not just discarding paper, you're transmuting pain into freedom. You may not feel an immediate shift. Sometimes the healing is subtle, but over time you'll start to notice the difference. You'll feel lighter, quieter inside, less reactive, more connected to the core of who you are. Beneath all the conditioning, the defense mechanisms, and the fear. This is what emotional clearing really is. It's not about fixing yourself. It's about coming back home to yourself. Coming back to your center, your heart, your truth. And as you do this inner housekeeping, your outer world begins to reflect it. You might suddenly feel inspired to clean out your physical space, not just in the get rid of junk kind of way, but in a soulful, intentional way. You might ask yourself, does this space feel like a sanctuary? Do I feel safe here, seen here, soothed here? Does my environment support my well-being? Or does it echo the chaos I've been carrying inside? Because the truth is, our physical surroundings are often an extension of our energetic state. And while we can't always control the external world, we can cultivate environments that honor our healing. Even small changes, a softer blanket, a favorite scent, a photo that brings joy can shift the energy. When we treat our spaces sacred, we send a message to ourselves. I matter. My energy matters. I deserve to be held in love. So take this time to tend to both your inner and outer sanctuaries. Let your healing be holistic. Let it be graceful. Let it be filled with tenderness and care. The Cancer moon isn't rushing you. It's not asking for perfection. It's simply offering a gentle hand on your shoulder and saying, you've been carrying this for long enough. It's okay to set it down now. You are not broken. You never were. You've simply been layered with emotions and stories that weren't always yours. And now you're peeling them away, bit by bit, layer by layer. And what's being revealed is something so beautiful, so whole, so quietly radiant. You, the real you, the you who remembers how to feel deeply, love openly, and live authentically. Let this moon be your permission slip to begin again, not from scratch, but from truth, from clarity, from a heart that's no longer weighed down by what it doesn't need to carry. Breathe into this moment. Let it wrap around you like a warm blanket. You're not alone in this. So many of us are doing this work quietly, softly, in our own corners of the world. And together, we're creating something sacred, a collective return to our emotional sovereignty. Let yourself rest, let yourself feel, let yourself release, and then, when you're ready, let yourself open to new beginnings, open to lighter days, open to a version of yourself that feels more free, more grounded, more aligned. You're not healing to become someone else. You're healing to remember who you really are. So, take a breath. Touch your heart. Look around your space and ask, does this reflect who I'm becoming? And if not, begin to shift it. Even the smallest change, a cleared shelf, a rearranged corner, a lovingly placed object, can be an act of self-care, an offering to your future self. This moon is a sacred pause, a call inward, an invitation to release with love and make space for grace. Accept it with open arms and trust that whatever you let go of now is clearing the way for something far more aligned, gentle, and true to enter your life. You're doing beautifully. Keep going. Keep softening. Keep coming home to you. This isn't about making your life or your home look picture perfect for the world outside. It's not about keeping up appearances, staging beauty, or achieving a curated version of peace that only looks good from the outside in. It's much deeper than that. This is about creating a space, both around you and within you, that genuinely supports your emotional and spiritual well-being. A space that feels like home to your soul, that nurtures your nervous system and welcomes you back to yourself when life starts to feel too heavy or too loud. So often, we forget that the spaces we spend our time in are not just physical places, they're energetic containers. They hold our stories, our memories, our moods, our rhythms. They absorb our laughter and our tears. And over time, they either begin to support our healing or slowly contribute to our overwhelm. That's why it matters, deeply, to tend to the energy of your environment with as much care and intention as you would tend to your own heart. You don't need to undertake a dramatic overhaul to shift the energy of your space. It could begin with something as simple and quiet as removing items that feel energetically heavy. The things that remind you of a version of yourself you've outgrown, or carry memories that don't feel aligned with where you're going. You might light a candle that soothes something deep in your chest, letting the flame remind you that warmth and presence can live here again. Maybe you place a crystal on your nightstand, a cherished photo by your mirror, or your softest blanket in a chair that invites you to rest. These gestures may seem small on the surface, but their power is in their intention. They become sacred rituals of care, little love notes to your spirit. When you make your bed with mindfulness, cook a nourishing meal with love, or let calming music drift through your space. Like a gentle breeze, you're doing more than just taking care of your physical surroundings. You're sending a quiet but powerful message to your nervous system. You are safe here. You can exhale now. You're allowed to soften. It's in these tiny intentional acts that we begin to shift not just our external space, but our internal landscape as well. These moments become grounding threads that tether us back to the present, back to our breath, back to the quiet truth that we deserve to feel at home in our lives. In those moments when life feels overwhelming, when the weight of expectations, uncertainty, or emotional intensity begins to feel like too much, your home, or even just your favorite little corner of it, should serve as a sacred retreat, a refuge, a space that asks for nothing but your presence, a space that holds you, comforts you, and gives you permission to just be. This isn't just about tidying or cleaning for the sake of productivity. This is about cultivating a sense of peace and belonging in the environment around you, so that it can mirror, nurture, and reinforce the peace you're trying to grow within. Tending to your space with care isn't about perfection, it's about presence. And that presence is a form of spiritual self-care. In fact, it's one of the most tangible ways you can pour love into your life. Because when you honor the space you live in, you begin to honor the life that's unfolding within it. And now, with the first quarter moon rising in the emotionally attuned sign of Cancer, we're being called to take this care one step further. Cancer is the sign of the nurturer, the divine mother, the emotional protector. Under its influence, there's a soft but steady nudge to turn inward and rebuild the emotional foundations we stand on, especially the ones we share with others. It's a reminder that emotional boundaries matter, not as barriers, but as sacred spaces, as bridges to more truthful, compassionate relationships. So often, especially when we have tender hearts, we give more than we should. We stretch ourselves too thin, say yes out of obligation, or remain silent in the face of discomfort just to keep the peace. But this moon phase gently encourages us to pause, reflect, and realign. It's asking us to listen, really listen, to the soft voice of our emotional truth. Have you been ignoring your inner no? Brushing aside the discomfort just to avoid rocking the boat? Have you allowed people, conversations, or situations into your energy field that leave you feeling depleted or unseen? If so, this is a beautiful time to take a compassionate step back. Not in anger or resentment, but in love. Love for yourself. Love for the clarity you're cultivating. Love for the version of you that's learning what it means to protect your peace without shutting down your heart. Setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away. It's about inviting the right people closer. The ones who understand your limits, who respect your truth, and who don't expect you to dim your light to make them comfortable. And it starts with being radically honest with yourself. You don't owe anyone a performance. You don't need to explain the fullness of your needs just to validate their existence. Your emotions are valid because you feel them. That is enough. The influence of Cancer during this moon phase teaches us that tenderness and strength are not opposites. They are sacred partners. You can be deeply sensitive and still fiercely protective of your well-being. You can lead with love and still say no with conviction. In fact, real love for ourselves and others requires that kind of clarity. Your boundaries are like emotional skin. They aren't walls to keep people out, but membranes that allow in what nourishes you and gently filter out what doesn't. And just like your physical skin, they deserve to be cared for and respected. When your boundaries are clear and lovingly communicated, they help you show up more fully, more authentically in your relationships. Not from a place of depletion, but from a place of wholeness. So if you need to take some time alone, do it without guilt. If you need to say no to an invitation, decline with grace and certainty. If you need to step away from emotionally charged conversations, do so with your head held high. Protecting your peace is not selfish. It is sacred. It is a declaration of self-respect, and it teaches others how to meet you with care. As the moon continues to grow, lighting up more of the night sky, you're being invited to grow too, to expand into a deeper, more aligned version of yourself. One who listens to their inner world before reacting to the outer one. One who moves with intentionality. One who knows that emotional clarity is not a burden, it's a gift. This moon phase, sitting in the heart-centered waters of Cancer, encourages you to realign your actions with how you truly feel inside. This is not a time for pretending, for powering through, or for numbing out. It's a time to pause, reflect, and ask yourself if the path you're walking is one that genuinely honors your heart. Are you living in a way that reflects your deepest values? Are your choices a true reflection of your emotional reality? Or are they shaped by pressure, performance, or fear of disappointing others? This is your moment to make gentle course corrections. Not because you've done something wrong, but because you're becoming more attuned to what feels right. When you begin to align your outer actions with your inner truth, something magical happens. Life begins to flow. Not because it becomes perfect or free of challenges, but because you're no longer fighting against your own current. There is a quiet power in listening to your heart, and an even greater strength in honoring what it asks of you. Let this moon be your mirror. Let it reflect back to you the ways you've already grown, the boundaries you've bravely created, the peace you're building in the little corners of your world. Let it remind you that you are allowed to protect your softness. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to care deeply and still walk away from what doesn't serve you. And in the spaces where it still feels hard, where you're learning, unlearning, and figuring out what your truth really sounds like, be gentle with yourself. This isn't about getting it all perfect. This is about getting real. This is about coming home to yourself, one small, loving step at a time. So, light the candle, make the bed, play the music that brings you peace, speak the truth that lives in your chest. Let your home and your heart become a sanctuary where healing is welcome, where softness is celebrated, and where your emotional reality is treated like the sacred guide it has always been. The world may never fully understand the depth of your heart, but you can. And that is more than enough. Before you rush ahead into the next thing on your to-do list, or make yet another decision simply to keep up with the pace of life, take a breath. Not just a casual inhale, but a deep intentional pause, a moment to truly check in with yourself. So often we find ourselves moving on autopilot, ticking boxes, saying yes when we mean maybe, or making choices because we think we should. We chase goals that don't fully resonate, agree to things that quietly drain us, and follow paths that look good on the outside, but feel hollow within. We do it because it's what's expected, or because we're afraid of letting someone down, or because we're unsure of what else to do. But what if you gave yourself permission right now to slow down enough to really listen, to tune into your emotional truth? This moment, especially under the soft, nurturing energy of the Cancer moon, invites you to shift gears. It's not about dramatic change or burning everything down. Instead, it's about subtle, meaningful realignment. It's about reconnecting with what feels real to you, the kind of real that lives in your chest when something just clicks, when you feel that quiet yes from deep within. That's your truth. And it's always been there, patiently waiting for you to come back to it. Take a closer look at your current actions and choices. Are they actually aligned with the person you are becoming? Or are they keeping you stuck in cycles that no longer reflect who you are? Sometimes we hold on to situations, relationships, or roles because they're familiar, even when they feel heavy. We tell ourselves it's easier that way. But ease isn't always peace, and comfort isn't always growth. It's worth asking, what are you clinging to just because it's what you've always known? Our emotional truth doesn't shout, it whispers. And when we don't listen, it finds other ways to speak. Through anxiety, tension, burnout, restlessness. Those feelings aren't random. They're signals, invitations to pause and look deeper. If something in your life consistently leaves you feeling unsettled, It might be your soul's way of saying, this isn't it. That inner friction is a call to reevaluate, to notice what drains you and gently release it, to observe what brings peace and lean into it more. On the flip side, notice what quietly nourishes you. Maybe it's a conversation that leaves you feeling seen, a project that sparks your creativity, a space where you can fully exhale. It doesn't always show up in loud, flashy ways. Sometimes, it's just a moment of stillness that feels surprisingly safe. That's your emotional truth too. It's showing you what's aligned with your heart, your energy, and your purpose, even if your mind hasn't made full sense of it yet. The beauty of this Cancer moon is that it doesn't demand big, sudden change. Instead, it supports the kind of emotional clarity that leads to slow, steady transformation. Think of it like the tide, gentle but powerful. It reminds you that you don't need to overhaul your entire life overnight. You just need to start honoring what feels true, one choice at a time. That might mean saying no to something that once felt right, but now feels off. It might mean carving out quiet time to check in with yourself. Or it might mean allowing yourself to feel emotions you've been pushing aside, giving them space without judgment. Your feelings are not flaws. They're not obstacles in the way of your progress. They're your compass, your intuition, your soul's way of steering you back home to yourself. We live in a world that often tells us to override our emotions, to push through, to tough it out. But the real strength lies in softness, in tuning in allowing your emotional landscape to guide you, rather than resisting it. There's something incredibly empowering about living in alignment with your inner truth. When your actions reflect what your heart truly values, life begins to feel more spacious, more grounded. You stop chasing validation or trying to be everything to everyone, and instead, you begin to move from a place of wholeness. It doesn't mean things will always be easy, but it does mean they'll be real. And that kind of authenticity brings a deep, lasting peace. Ask yourself, what do I truly want to feel? Not what do I want to achieve or prove or accomplish, but what do I want to feel in my day-to-day life? Safe, creative, free, joyful, loved, respected. Those feelings can be your roadmap. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to have it all figured out to begin. You just need to start noticing. Start honoring the small nudges. Start trusting that your emotions have wisdom, even when they don't immediately make logical sense. This is a powerful time to reset, to gently turn inward and reconnect with the version of you that's been waiting to be seen. The version that knows what truly matters, that isn't afraid to feel deeply, to choose differently, to grow in ways that might not be visible to the outside world, but feel revolutionary on the inside. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you already are beneath the layers of expectation and conditioning. So if something in your life feels out of sync, don't ignore that feeling. Explore it. Ask it what it's trying to teach you. And if something feels deeply aligned, even if you can't explain why, follow it. Let your heart lead, even when your mind wants a detailed map. The journey to living in emotional truth doesn't always look linear, but it's always worth it. Let this lunar phase be a gentle reminder. You are allowed to move differently. You are allowed to feel deeply. You are allowed to choose peace over pressure, alignment over approval, truth over tradition. You're allowed to change your mind, to rest, to begin again. If this message speaks to something inside you, if you feel a shift happening, even if it's subtle, honor that. You don't need to fully understand it to trust it. You're not lost. You're realigning. You're remembering. And with every choice that comes from your heart, you step closer to the life that was always meant for you. If you're feeling this energy and it resonates in your soul, take a moment to anchor it. Say it aloud or write it in the comments. I trust my emotional truth. Let those words be a sacred promise to yourself, a vow to listen more, to trust more, to love yourself enough to choose what feels true, even when it's hard. And if you're craving more soulful reminders like this, you're not alone. Come join the community at Sacred Promises, where we share insights and energy updates to help you stay connected, grounded, and empowered through every season of life. This journey is sacred, and you deserve support that speaks to your soul. Keep walking with heart. Keep trusting what you feel. Your emotional truth is not a weakness, it's your greatest strength. Let it lead you forward. If you're finding value in this content, consider supporting our channel by giving us super thanks. It truly makes a difference. And please, don't forget to subscribe for more uplifting updates and content that can inspire and encourage you. Your support means so much, and we are grateful for each of you.